So let's have a quick listen to this effect in action. So we've got LFO mount and rate, cut off, resonance, and then you've got the delay as well. And glide is to mimic the monotron when you slide up and down the notes like this. So if I bring these down, actually, obviously on the monotron you would slide up and down like that. That was to mimic that. Obviously if you've got the Hydra with the ribbon on, then you don't need to do that. You can just use the ribbon. And then we've got drive as well. So it's quite cool. You can do loads of cool effects, and I've used this in a lot of tracks as well as the actual Korg Monotron Delay, sorry, because it's really good for just coming up with little sound bites that you can cut up and chop and put into tracks. So this is one that I use quite often in tracks. Let's go over to a blank patch and set this up. It's fairly straightforward, this, but it'll give you an idea of how you can create little effects patches. There's different variations you could do with this as well. So voice, we're going to go for mono, analog flavor, want quite a lot of this. So 59, random phase on, one mode on, glide on, but the glide time at 0. And then oscillator 1, we want this to be a saw at 0 semitones. And then in the mod matrix, what I want to do is send LFO to oscillator 1 pitch. And I'm going to leave that at 0 because we're going to use a macro to bring that up. So let's also just have a quick look at the LFO as well. So we're going to go saw down, put the rate all the way down to the bottom, and then trig off. And then what we need to do now is we need to go macro assign macro 1 to, not that one actually. Let me have a look. So yeah, sorry, macro 1 to the mod matrix 1 depth amount, yeah, all the way up 128. I'm going to call this LFO amount. And then I'll just test it out in a second. So LFO amount. So that's working perfectly. But now we need to set up the rate. So macro 2, assign rate. And this one, I want to bring it all the way up to 128. And then we need to go to LFO. LFO rate, so we actually have to type this one in. Let's just test that. So it's already starting to sound like the Korg Monotron Delay. Right, the next thing I want to do is mod matrix. So I want to go LFO 2 to oscillator 1 pitch, and this one is basically just to act as like a randomizer to make the analog circuitry a lot more unstable than just bringing up the analog flavor. So for this, let's go quite, not too high, but around there. And then LFO 2, I want to sample and hold, and then I want to put it on smooth so it acts as like a randomizer. Let's bring the rate down quite a bit. And then trig off again. So if we set the LFO amount down, you can hear it moving slightly there. So it just makes it unstable. Next thing I want to look at is the filter. So the Korg Monotron is obviously by Korg, so we're going to go for the MS-20 filter. So it's got the MS-20 filter built into it. Cut off. Actually, I don't want the HP, I want the LP. Bring this down. Leave resonance at 0. And then what I want to do is go to filter 1. Sorry, macro assign. And we're going to do a filter cut off. Put this at 64. Or thereabouts. And this one's going to be called cutoff. Let's make one for resonance now. So macro 4. Resonance. Yep, cool. And then let's just change that. So this one, we'll call it resonance. Let's bring the amp up quite a bit. So let's add the delay now. So for this one, I want to go for basic mono, so just a basic mono delay. Time, let's bring it down to around 8 milliseconds. And then the feedback, I want it at 0. The wet, I'll bring that up quite a bit. So feed tone 0, wet tone 0, feedback 0, BPM sync off. And then let's set up some macros for this. So the first macro I want to set up is time. So let me just take a look at these. Yeah, so we're going to put it there. Assign, delay, time. And then what I want to do is bring this up quite a lot. There we go. Let's just call it delay T for time. And then we want to do feedback. So assign, delay, feedback, all the way up. 128 to get those really high feedback tones. Let's call this one feedback. And then macro 7 is going to be the glide. So voice glide time. All the way up to 128. Yep, and then lastly, I want to do a drive macro. So this is going to be filter 1, drive. That's going to be at 1 to 8. And then the amp level, I want to bring that down. So level. Yep. That's perfect. Let's call this drive. And that's pretty much it. So let's just give it a try. And I just need to label this one actually. So I missed that. There we go. Cool. Yep, that works. Sweet. So that's it for the effects preset.